What up, what up, what up, New York Giant Nation and football fans all over the world? It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. I'm here with my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. This is the real deal NFC East Round-Up. Punch that intro. What is going on, everybody out there? What is going on? How y'all doing on this Wednesday afternoon, heading into the final week of the regular season in the NFL? It's been a fast season. It's going by so quickly, man. Hope everybody had a very happy holiday season, man, and on to 2024, and hopefully it'll be getting on to some new beginnings, man, and bigger and better things for 2024 for everybody, man. What's going on, Daniel Barry in the chat, man? Appreciate you stopping in, man. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets. Thank you for that, man. Appreciate that, man. Hope you're doing all right. Happy New Year to you, my brother. How you doing, Adam, man? How you been today, man?
I am good. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in again. Mac couldn't have said it any better. I hope you had a good holiday season, holiday week. I still can't believe the season's over. It's been one of the longest, shortest seasons I've ever been a part of. And what I mean by that is, while it's been short, it's been long for the Giant fans as we have, endured another losing season. So for me, I'm just glad the holidays are here. I can't believe it's 2024. The big 4-0 happens for me this year at some point. Can't reveal when for everybody, but that's where I'm headed towards. So new chapters for everybody. And they know everybody. And Joe Shane knows what I want for my birthday. So let's get it done, Joe Shane.
I mean, I think you're gonna get it, brother. I think you're gonna get it, man. Like I said, these last couple of games have really been eye opening. I don't know anybody that can look at the last couple of games for the New York Giants and not understand that with just more competent quarterback play, what the difference in those games could have been, man. Just more competent, consistent quarterback play. Not to say Tyrod Taylor went out there and laid a complete egg or anything like that. Obviously, he played decent and stuff like that. But just when you watch the games, just a more competent quarterback is definitely something this team is desperately in need of, man. Desperately in need of. I understand other problems, other issues, but you cannot just continuously go into each draft in April and think we're just going to keep getting offensive linemen in the first round and thinking you're going to get different results, man. At some point, you got to get some coaches in there that can coach these guys up, man. I'm not convinced that all these guys in New York Giants have invested draft picks in over the course of the last few years, other than exception of Andrew Thomas, are complete busts. At some point, it's got to be a disconnect with the coaching, man. I believe with some of that, man. They got to be held accountable. So we will definitely dig a little bit more into that later. What's going on, Alex, man? Happy New Year, brother. Thanks for stopping in, man. But yeah, I just think that the New York Giants, I really do hope they make the right choice and go out there and make a play for one of these top quarterbacks right now in this upcoming draft. It's necessary. It's a necessary move. It's clear and obvious to me. I believe even with the deficiencies on the offensive line and everything else that we've seen, you can't convince me that a better quarterback can't still navigate around some of these issues, man. Like you just saw what the play you got from Tyrod Taylor and even Tommy DeVito behind the same broke down offensive line that we've had all season, man.
And folks, we didn't mean to go down this road. I'm sorry I opened this
It didn't.
Pandora's
I don't
box.
know how that happened.
I know.
I don't know how that happened. Yeah.
I asked Joe Shane for what my birthday wish
Oh
is, and
yeah.
to reveal my birthday wish, you said we think we're going to get it, and away we went. So, folks, sorry about that. We're discussing my birthday wish. We will see if it comes true in April. But again, thank you for joining us, and I think we're going to get into our game now. Sorry, we will save that Giant content for you when we talk about the Giants, which probably could be coming up shortly. Actually, I don't know how Mac structured it today, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's where I mean, real quick too. Just right, this is where I'm at with it. Right, this comment with Alex. Exactly, my sentiments exactly, man. A lot of missed throws, man, in that game. Just several of them. Like I said, just more competent
Oh,
quarterback play, in
we'll get
particularly in
into
these last.
that.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it. We'll definitely do it, man. We'll definitely do it. But what's going on, Willie Vassar? Happy New Year to you, man. Thanks for stopping in, man. Let's get right to it, man. Let's go to let's see where we're going first. We're going to go where we always go first because we just seem to always want to get these guys out of the way. Let's go to Washington, man. Them
How'd
Commanders,
I
man. Visit
know?
with the Washington Commanders. they they hosted the 49ers on Sunday afternoon. Talk of the town all week was Jacoby Brissett was going to be getting the start. And then all of a sudden we got the game day and no Jacoby Brissett to be found, man. Went back out there with Sam Howell and the result was the same as it has been for the better part of the pretty much the last month plus of the season for the Washington Commanders. Another big L hung on the board. Not to say that they probably would have fared a whole lot better with Brissett against this 49er team, but at the end of the day, Brissett proved to be a more competent answer at the quarterback position. And like me and Adam were just discussing before the show, looks like the tank is in for the Washington Commanders, and they're all in for probably one of those big time quarterbacks at the top of the draft come April, man. What do you make of the Washington Commanders and 49ers game on Sunday, Adam?
Oh, the tank is on. The tank is on. The reason why you don't start Jacoby Brissett is the same reason why we shouldn't start Tyrod Taylor. But we'll get to that in a minute. Is you rode to this guy, you die with this guy. When you say, "Oh, we're going to make a quarterback change," then you go back to Sam Howell. One, it makes you look weak and an incompetent coaching staff. Two, it shows me that you have no faith in your kid and you want to keep throwing him out there, which is not doing him any good. You're giving him lack of confidence, right? Because his body language, you can tell a lot about a person's body language. His body language is not that of a guy who is not confident what he does right now, or is not hiding that he's not confident what he does. And lastly, this organization is disarray. And I'm sure this was an upper management call because Ron Rivera is trying to win games. They're like, listen, Ron, it don't matter. Your ass is getting out of here no matter what. Play Sam Howell so we can at least see what we got. So that when we go into this big old time draft, who, by the way, they traded a couple of players and they've got a lot of ammunition to move up to that number one pick. So they're basically have their pick in the litter, and Caleb Williams could be coming in here. Now think about this. Let me pause for a second and pull you into Adam's dreamland. Next year, the scenario with the NFC East could be Dak Prescott, who by the way is an MVP, MVP candidate. You can thank me later. Jalen Hurst, who by all accounts is having a down year, but if you look at his stats, is pretty on par with where he's at, and we'll get to his stats in a minute. And then you'll have Caleb Williams, and then of course, if the Giants do nothing, you'll have Daniel Jones. Just think about that for a second. Just think about that. Ferrari, Maserati, and then a Pinto. Okay, that's what you're going to be looking at the quarterback position. So I just wanted to just throw that out there and let you know. Obviously, they're putting in Sam Howell to tank. They're not doing anything on defense. They're lackluster, and that's basically all I can say about this game. It's nothing. The 49ers were gearing up for a run. They needed this game after the complete shellacking that the Ravens put on them the week before. So they come out and they handle business against a Washington team that is arguably the worst team in football. Arguably. I mean, record-wise, it's probably if the Panthers are the worst, but a close second is Washington. I mean, can't even say that with the Cardinals because look what they did this week. And we'll get to them in a minute. But Commanders stink. 3 out of the 4 teams in the NFC East lost, and I don't really have much more to say.
Yeah, I mean, Washington early part of this game looked like they were really trying to keep this one competitive a little bit, and then just the wheels completely obviously just fell off early in this game for the Washington Commanders after a little a pretty decent start to the football game. They just were not able to keep up with the 49ers. 49ers began to assert their will, do whatever they wanted to, and got the job done here. I mean, there's not really much to say about it. Like you said, it looks like the tank is definitely in because they really came out, announced, and like I said, announced it publicly that they were going to start Brissett. So, like you said, it definitely is not a good look just on the team in general because it's like, why would you come out and say that, and then all of a sudden you just throw Sam Howell back out there? Clearly, looks like you're out there hoping to lose football games as opposed to trying to win them. So not really much more I can say about the Washington Commanders, man. I don't really not going to try to spend too much time on them. They're going to have be a team to keep an eye on during the off
But
season.
but
It's
I
going to
will
be
say
a
this:
lot of changes.
he is trying. The organization is smart. It's time to evaluate. Don't care about wins or losses right now. You know you're in your draft slot. You're probably going to be this. You have a chance to be higher or lower. You don't fuck it up. That's what you do when you have a lost season and a chance to get a franchise moving quarterback in this draft. You don't try to put a guy in and say, we're trying to win. That is not the mindset of it. Just because you get to 5 wins or 6 wins doesn't make it any worse than the season you had. Okay, and no one's gonna high five you at the end because you beat the team because they're not playing their starters or they're going easy on you, right? That nobody cares about that. So the Washington Commanders are doing exactly what they need to do. And like I told you, I painted you that scenario of the NFC East having Maserati, Ferrari, and a Diablo Lamborghini, and then us growing up with the Pinto because Hertz, Dak, and Williams could be the three guys we're competing against for the next decade. And we're sitting here spinning our wheels. Right? Just think about that. Instead of them and Ron Rivera trying to win games, quote unquote, when it's a lost season, he knows his job is on the line. The owner's like, nope, put back in Sam Howell. We're going to ride this thing out because we're in prime position to change the franchise. Literally change the course of the franchise. You're going to get a new coach. Now you're going to get a new quarterback. And away they go. And away they go. And they'll worry about those problems that everyone's worried about, the tackle and this, that, and the other. Guess what? They have a lot of picks. Maybe they'll get some more guys with their picks. Maybe they don't have to move up to get Caleb that much. This is what I'm talking about. And this is why next year that if we are not in a position to do that, because our season is lost, and we'll get, like I said, we'll get into the weeds in a minute, you're doing the smart thing here.
I mean, that was definitely looked like Willie Vassar here. That was looked like that was definitely the beginning of their downfall when they made those trade deadlines, those trades at the deadline, getting rid of their two premier pass rushers, edge rushers, and I mean,
I think it
defense
was
wasn't
dumb.
that great as it was, and then that just definitely didn't do anything to help them. And then, like you said, other struggles with this football team. It's deep rooted with this team. I think sometimes some certain franchises just kind of are a bit cursed. And I think the Washington Commanders, I mean, they just got rid of all this, the Daniel Snyder nonsense just this past season. A lot to overcome. And it looked like early in this year, the way they were competing, that they were really trying to do that. But it's they've kind of
Oh,
just seemed to fall back into some of the just craziness and dysfunction that's been surrounding this team for years now. What was you going to say?
let me just say two quick things about that. One, the Willie Vassar's comment. I don't think it was dumb. I think they had a predetermination that if they failed, they're going to have ammunition to move up. The tank was in when they traded those two guys. They knew that their season was lost. They knew that they weren't going to the playoffs. Let's get value for players right now that may or may not be here that we're not going to sign next year and get the rebuild. That's what they did. They chose to do that because that's a smart thing to do when they were two and whatever they were at the middle of the season, right? That's a smart move to do. Because if you fail, guess what? You're in a prime position to move up and have the ammunition to do that. The second thing that you had mentioned is the black cloud of this team has risen in terms of the Daniel Snyder thing. However, there was still turmoil going on with the Commanders with the head coaching, right? They fired Jack Del Rio. They brought in Eric Bieniemy. They've done a lot of things with that coaching staff where you can see like they're going to clean house. And I think this is the start of something big. This is why I'm telling you, if you're a Commander fan, you should be the most excited that you've ever been because you've got a new ownership who's going to bring in a new coach, who's going to bring in a new quarterback, and again, away you go. If I'm any coach looking for a job, Harbaugh or Belichick or one of these guys, and they have enough money, I can bring it back. No Dan Snyder anymore. I don't have to worry about walking on eggshells. I can actually be a human being now. I can get my staff in here. My owner's not going to meddle with me, and I get a chance to pick the best quarterback in the draft. That's the situation that a lot of guys are going to want to come to, knowing that the regime changes change. So what I'm saying is, while it may be doom and gloom now, you may be reaping the benefits later on in next year when we're talking about, wow, man, they drafted Caleb Williams and he's really the star that we thought he was and all this stuff. So grit your teeth and bear it, Commander fans. You'll get there.
We'll see how that all works out for him, man. We will see, but we'll get back to the Commanders in just a moment. Let's go back to Saturday night now, man. This is a game people are still talking about even to this day. 20-19, the Dallas Cowboys took care of the Detroit Lions on Saturday night in prime time, man. A big game. It was a good game and very controversial call late, but the NFL has released statements about the call, saying it's up to the players. The players got to make sure that they go out there and make sure they report, and the referee understands what they're doing, understands they're reporting eligible, and it's definitely on the players. And it can't put that on the referees if the players aren't being clear about what they're doing. And there's a few other things I've heard about this situation, that the Detroit Lions were getting a little too cute, trying to confuse the Cowboys as to who was going to be eligible and who wasn't, and it kind of came back and bit them in the ass. At the end of the day, the way I feel about that call is as controversial as it might have been. The game wasn't on that call, man, because you had 4 quarters of football to play, and you had 4 quarters to put more points on the board regardless. At the end of the day, it doesn't come down, never really just comes down to just that one call. I mean, yes, it was a situation in which they could have won the football game, but you had more time earlier in the game to take care of business and handle business, man. How do you feel about this one? And how you doing, Wells? Happy New Year's to you, bro. I appreciate you stopping in, man. How you feel about this one Saturday night, Adam?
I feel like this is one of those games where when the loser team is going to nitpick the one call that was made, right? And this non-call, for whatever the reason, is the Lions try to do this. When I was listening into that call, the announcer, the Terry McCauley, whatever that dumb referee announcer that they usually add, goes, well, technically there's 2 fouls on the play. There's illegal illegal formation. Because the tackle was the line of scrimmage. So you could have got penalized either way. So I don't know why we're still harping on it if they already had 2 penalties. Maybe it was the wrong one coming out, but the penalty was still a penalty. So they caught a penalty. It's like when you call pass. It's like when you call holding. It's really pass interference. They probably were calling the penalty because they saw it, and they said probably reported eligible anyways because they're being on the line of scrimmage and reporting ineligible is the same kind of thing. It's a legal formation at the end of the day. So that's what they were going to call you on anyways. It had nothing to do with you being tackle eligible. Remember, tackle eligible, all it's allowing you to do is be a vulnerable receiver. That's it. That's all it's doing. But if you line up wrong as an eligible receiver and that becomes an illegal formation, it doesn't matter. So even though there was a couple penalties on the play, get over it. Like Max said, you had a chance to win the game. You didn't. It wasn't like it was the 4th quarter when this happened, right? Because if it was the end of the game, probably a different story we're talking about here, right? But I know they were driving for a touchdown, and maybe that does affect the outcome at some point. But you got to be better. That's on you as a football team to know what it's like when Kadarius Toney lined up off sides, and he's like blaming the ref for him not knowing the job. Like, dude, you can ask the ref, hey, can I line up on side? Am I good to go? Right? You went over there and 2 people walked over and one said, I'm reporting as eligible or he's reporting as eligible. Then so that's 1 out of 2 according to the letter of the law. So 1 out of 2 of you, even though both of you are supposedly eligible, said that you're eligible. So now what do you think is going to happen? I mean, I'm not saying I want the Cowboys to win because in the end it would have been beneficial for the Lions to win and things would have been different. But this is the NFL. This is what happens. It seems like a lot of blown calls happen in the NFL more and more. And the problem that you're going to start to see is there's a big word called Caesars all over everybody's stadium. And what Caesars means is that the gambling is allowed into the game, and people are going to start to reach and start to say controversially, "Hey, are the refs on the take? Are they trying to get part of this game to go?" And trust me, we've all thought about it prior to them being in gambling. Now it's definitely going to come to fruition. Listen, I think what they should do to have a lot of these things are, if you're going to throw up, it may elongate the game, but the refs should have a chance to talk about it 15 seconds if they need to go to the videotape in New York, like in the NBA, and say, yeah, is this foul? Okay, it's not a foul. We're picking up the flag. Doesn't mean you get the points. Just means you get to redo the down or something like that. But that's it. I mean, if you have a question, I don't know how we're going to legislate this into the game, because then it gets to the point where, well, do you challenge this? Because people are going to be challenging fucking shit all over the place. But here's where you could say, you use the challenge flag. Hey, I'm challenging the ruling on the field that the guy was not eligible, right? Well, if he loses the challenge, it's one of his two challenges. He can challenge anything on the field, call or penalty, right? They tried to do that with pass interference, right? You can call pass interference. Well, guess what? Maybe you should do it with any penalty. And if they lose their challenge because they want to be, because look at it like this. Coaches aren't going to just haphazardly challenge because they lose timeouts. So they better be sure about doing it. They're not just going to challenge every play. That's what they're worried about. Oh, you're going to challenge every call, blah, blah, blah. Well, if it's a call that comes down to something like this that you think they may need more footage on, or talk to the booth or something like that to get it right, then yes, you should be able to challenge that if you have a challenge flag.
Well, honestly, I mean, I hear you, Adam, but I don't think we're really going to see that happen, man, because at the end of the day, you saw what happened that season when they tested the pass interference challenges. That clearly did not work out. And all referees seem to not want. They're not going to pretty much overturn their own call and make it look like that they made mistakes. You know what I mean? And kind of own up to them making errors and mistakes they just didn't. I mean, that season, would they overturn like maybe what? Count on one hand how many of those pass interference challenges they overturned?
Okay.
Literally count on like one hand how many. And so I just think that they're not going. I just think that's what that would end up leading to. Would be a situation similar to that where they're just never going to overturn them anyway, and then you just have stupid coaches wasting their challenges trying to challenge penalties. But
Well,
here, Willie Vassar, what you was going to say?
no, go ahead.
I'm gonna say this is where I'm at with this call. Also, like about the not the tripping. I ain't worried about that. But I'm talking about after they went for it. Okay, you get the penalty, you get pushed back, you go for it again. They get a penalty, but they get a penalty. You didn't get it. They get a penalty through an interception, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Why a third time do you still go for the 2-point conversion instead of just kicking the damn ball and going to overtime? You had momentum at that point in the game. Why would you not just kick the damn extra point and go to overtime and take your chances in overtime? That's the mind blowing part for me for the Detroit Lions here in this game. This was one of the biggest games on the schedule in Week 17 for just NFC seeding, playoff seeding purposes, obviously. And it definitely worked out for the Dallas Cowboys here. How big was this win, do you think, for the Dallas Cowboys? From what we now know, they are now completely in the driver's seat in the NFC East and put themselves in prime position to lock down the NFC East title this week.
Well, if they don't, fuck it up, so to speak, right? Because the Cowboys are known to do that sometimes. They could go into this game. I don't think they will, but stranger things have happened. Maybe Sam Howell wakes up and the Tooth Fairy came and he's feeling lucky that day and he ends up winning the game. But the Cowboys need to lock this up. And if they get the 2 seed, they're going to be a tough out. They really will be, because this will be the first time that they'll be on the road, right? And they're going to hope that they get at least 2 playoff games there, right? They'll get the first game, the divisional round, and hope that whoever wins it, they have a wild card game now, but the divisional round, what they're hoping is that somebody will then be able to knock off the 49ers, right? So right now they'll be the 2 seed. They would play the Rams, I think. No, they play the
No, they'll play the Green Bay
Packers
right now. Green Bay.
So they play the Packers, which
Green Bay right now.
It's not an easy game, but a game that you think you should win, right? And then let's say they advance. you would hope that somebody, whoever advances to the 49ers, can knock them off, and then you have the home playoff game. So for Dallas, this was huge. It was a game that they snuck by. They've proven to me that they deserve to be in this position. And I wouldn't be surprised they end up in the Super Bowl if, when it's all said and done, Dak is playing lights out. But we'll see. And again, if they lose the game and the Eagles win, because I know a lot of people saying, the Eagles may rest their players. I just think there's too much on the line that if the Cowboys came out and were like, yeah, we're going to rest
players.
Well, I'm just saying
there's no way.
They're contemplating it. I don't think they will, but maybe it's a thing to try to show the Cowboys, yeah, we're not playing hard because they're conceding. But you never know in the league what could happen. Like I'm saying, this game for the Cowboys, where's this game? Is this game in Washington? Yes, it's in Washington. The Cowboys have not played well. The Cowboys not played well at home, right? And on the road, I mean. And they're
on the road, you mean?
Yeah. And there's no guarantee that the Commanders, that Ron Rivera can't get these guys riled up for one game. I know that they're terrible, but you never know what could happen. So for me, I just can't be a Cowboy fan and lie down and hope that the Washington's going to win like that. You got to go out and handle your business. And I think you're going to see it happen. But again, this is why you play the games. That the Cowboys have done enough to get here, seal the deal. And we know that we said Arizona comes to mind, where that's a team they should have beat the brakes off of. And they came up a little short, and the Washington team, I mean the Arizona team beat them. So you got to be on your P's and Q's, Cowboys.
Well, absolutely. I mean, plus at this point, Washington's going to hit them with everything they got. I mean, this is a team that their season is actually obviously over, and they'll be looking to just spoil the Cowboys season a little bit going into the playoffs any way that they can. So I look for Washington to come out fired up in this one, and it's going to be up to Dallas to come in and stay focused and keep their eye on the prize, man. This is a crazy NFC East division. Has not been a back-to-back winner in years since the Eagles did it back in the earlier 2000s, and it's looking like that's going to be the same story again this year, as the Dallas Cowboys are definitely in prime position to lock this division up. All they need to do is win the football game. And they will win this NFC East division and lock down the number 2 seed.
Easier said than done.
So we will see how that goes out. I mean, it is a lot easier said than done. And I think the NFL is smart here. They put both those games in the same time slot, because I think you play one of them early, like you play, for instance, the Cowboys and Washington game at 1 o'clock, and the Cowboys win, then you're right. The Eagles then have nothing to play for, and then you're talking about they'll just go out there and pretty much lay down and play their now the Eagles got to go. They're playing at the same time. You got to go out there, and they got to go out there and try to get the job done against the Giants. And they're gonna. And there's no way in the world I can see this team resting their players, because how can you rest your players when you still have a potential to win the division? You know what I mean? It's just
you can't concede to Washington
resting their players.
You just can't concede to say that Washington won't win, because what if the Cowboys slip up, right? Like, for example, the Giants were in a game last week with a 94-yard punt return, right? They were in the game, and they had a chance to win it. So you never know what could happen, where a team comes in and gives you 3 turnovers and is not playing well because they're thinking about the bye week or the playoffs, right? And then they're excited and they think they're going to beat you anyways, right? That you get upended. This is the type of trap game that we talk about all the time, where the Cowboys, and we've seen it time and time again. I thought this is when the Cowboys would have that letdown game. Matt called it early on against the Cardinals. Don't have a second letdown game. Don't have a second letdown game. And as for the Eagles, you have to play your starters, only because I think would be dumb to concede the 5th seed. Because if the Cowboys do lose and you had a chance to win, but you decide to not play your players, and you make that egregious error, you're never going to live that down. You're never going to live that down. So at least wait till halftime and see, and get the scoreboard. And if it's like 40-0 Washington, then of course in the second half, I can see you pulling guys as you go. But at least give it a half.
Absolutely, absolutely. Not to mention, I think honestly, another reason why. Let's go. You know what? Let's do this. Let's go. No, we can move on to the Eagles real quick. Let's go to the Eagles and Cardinals. One reason the Eagles, I feel like, also can't afford to sit their players is because, let's face it, this Eagles team has not been their sharpest this past month of this season, man. And
Right.
this team needs to figure it out heading into the postseason, man. They absolutely need to figure it out because right now they are not going into the postseason on a good note by any means. They are looking really unimpressive. I think they're putting no fear in anyone's heart, especially the teams that's going into the postseason. And honestly, looking at the teams that are probably being in the playoffs from the NFC, not a lot of good matchups for the Eagles, as you see, based off of what you've seen from this Eagle team. Not really a lot of good matchups. They took another heartbreaking loss to the Arizona Cardinals in front of their home fans in Philadelphia. That stadium, I've never heard boos so loud in that stadium when James Conner was just absolutely while James Conner was absolutely just destroying this defense all day long. And honestly, it's just crazy. I can't put my head on this Eagles team. I can't figure them out. I don't know what's going on with this team. The talent is obviously there on this football team, and it's just the results have been vastly different from a year ago. Maybe I've heard talk to some people that look at this Arizona game and say, well, Gannon's their coach, and he was their defensive coordinator in Philly. He's really familiar, and that could have a little something to do with it. I mean, honestly, familiar with the players, familiar with their weaknesses and how to exploit some of the things this team can do. But the Eagles weren't in full command in this game early on in this game, man. 21-6 at one point and then to just give it up like that. I mean, to just give up that lead like that is just absolutely crazy to a team like the Arizona Cardinals at home in Philly in front of your home fans. I mean, this is your last home game of the season, and that's what you give to your home fans is a loss to one of the worst teams in the NFL. I don't know I can't make what know to make of this football team. I don't know what you got, man.
Well, I do think the familiarity did help with this team, but also giving up 200 yards rushing didn't help either. The Eagles were in command, and again, sometimes when you think you're in command, you think a team's going to lie down. They did not lie down. They stormed back. Somehow the Eagles still had a chance to win the game. They weren't aggressive at a time when they probably should have been aggressive and took the field goal. And I think next time they'll learn from that decision that next time probably go for it. And if they do that, then they win the game on a field goal anyways, and then there's no chance for the Cardinals to come back down the field. I think what you're seeing right now is a team that is kind of in its own way right now. The coordinators, for whatever reason, are getting through to the players. I just think they're struggling, and they hit their stride, their struggle at the wrong time, right? And I think they peaked at that Kansas City game is when I think they hit their peak because they wanted to get revenge in Kansas City, and they basically left it all out there. Remember that game went into overtime? They won 37 to 31 or something like that, or that might have been Buffalo. But either way, they beat Kansas City. I think that's what happened. And then they got railroaded by San Francisco. We gave up the excuse that San Fran was waiting for that game. And then the Cowboy game, we figured that would happen as well. The Giant game, they played sloppy, but somehow still found a way to win the football game because that's how badly the Giants are playing. But also the Cardinals are playing well. They've been in every game that they've played all season. And now they got their quarterback in Kyler Murray, and he was the difference in the ball game where, he made plays with his legs and he got the ball out and he won the game. And like I said, the familiarity does help because if you're going up against that defense, which is very similar to what they do in scheme-wise, schematically, they really haven't changed much. And you're going up against those personnel. It seemed like the Eagles were right there, but just couldn't get there, right? Just couldn't get the tackle they needed, couldn't do certain things. And I think they might have lulled their way to sleep. Now we'll see what will happen this week against the Giants. Somehow, some way, even if they play their backups, which I fear that they play their backups because think about it like this: Jalen Hurts is struggling, but even though he is struggling, listen to these numbers: 3,800 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, a little high, but you still want a 2-to-1 ratio. You're kind of right there almost. Then he has 15 touchdowns rushing and 600 yards rushing as well to go in with that. So he's had a decent year. The results have been not necessarily quite the same because the way they've lost games this year, but the guy is still putting up 31 points in a game. And I think if the Giants were to play like Marcus Mariota, that would scare me because guess what? They don't play him. Marcus will probably be juiced up to play the game, and you have no film on him, and that's when the Eagles will click, right? Because they won't have their starters in to kind of struggle. So for me, if I'm Nick Sirianni, and there's a lot of rumors going around, he could possibly be fired. I don't know why you would fire a guy who's got 11 wins for you, but that's a story for another day. But there's rumors going around where, there's some turmoil there, and they got to fix this. I still think, and I still believe in my call me weird, call me strange, but teams do this sometimes in the regular season. They kind of bottom out, but then they get to the playoffs, realize what's on the line, and all of a sudden turn it on. I'm not saying that's what the Eagles are going to do, but they don't have Darius Slay coming back, right? He probably will play in the playoffs if he gets back, right? So now you have Darius Slay that comes back. Your linebackers are going to start to come back, and now your defense is a little better than it was in the season because you're getting guys back from injury. Maybe that changes everything. And you're going to be playing I wouldn't say a favorable matchup, but it's not like you're going to be going into fucking Dallas. You're going to be going to Tampa Bay. You know what I mean? And that's a winnable game against Tampa Bay when you go down there. So, the Eagles still have a lot to play for, I believe. And I wouldn't, if I'm the Eagles, Nick Sirianni, I'm going to try to go in with a win. Try to get some momentum, some positive vibes in the locker room going into the playoffs. A win can do a lot of things for you, even though it's against the lowly Giants, let's say. A win can do a lot for you. It can propel you into that thing. Had they beaten, I don't know if the Giants have the firepower to do what the Cardinals did and come back like that, right? So this matchup favors the Eagles more than it does the Giants. Against the Cardinals, it's a different story. Win one for your coach. They had a lot of motivation in that game. We'll see what's happening.
Look, honestly though, how I feel, I'm a little more. I don't give the Eagles the benefit of the doubt as much as you do. And I understand what you're saying. Here you coming from. Like I said, they're a very talented team with a lot of talent on that roster, but they're the same team they've been all season long, man. It's just that now they're not catching the breaks, man, and the breaks just not breaking their way up. This is a realistic about the Eagles right now. They could be on a 5-game losing streak. Just had the Giants had more competent quarterback play. Just more competent quarterback play in that game. And that was the difference in that football game against the Giants. It was just a few things of incompetence in the quarterback situation between DeVito, who started that game and didn't play well, and then Tyrod came in and had had his few issues as well. Just more competent quarterback play. And the Eagles, we be talking about the Eagles on a 5-game losing streak right now. Instead of we're back to a 1-game losing streak now, since they had the one against the Giants. But this team is the same team they've been all season. Earlier in the year, this team was playing very similar games to what they're playing right now, except they were catching the breaks and winning them. Now here it's the other way around, and they're actually losing these football games. And it's just, to me, I'm not really seeing a much different team than what we've seen all season, to be quite frank. That's the way I feel about the Philadelphia Eagles. Call it harsh, but it's just the truth. They haven't really played great football all season long. They've been in a lot of games a lot of other games in which they could have also just as easily have lost. And granted, maybe it's because of the talent and some of the pieces they have that they were able to overcome things in those football games. But I just don't see this team having any kind of a long playoff run. And I don't think even a win against the New York Giants, that doesn't really regain you momentum, because like you say, the New York Giants are just a lowly football team that beating them really doesn't really mean, oh yeah, we're ready now. We got our mojo.
That's not what I mean.
We beat the New York Giants. I know what you're saying. I know.
What I'm saying is,
not necessarily that, but
what I mean is, like, look, you came off a heartbreaking loss. It's football, but sometimes beating a team, like, you're familiar now, right? Like, let's say the Giants you've beaten the hell out of for over a decade. Now you get to see them again, and it's like, well, okay, we can beat these guys no matter who we play, backups or starters. Let's try to get our shit together in this game because we know that we can come out, and then next week we'll worry about next week, right? And I just think if you're Nick Sirianni, because of what's going on in your locker room, because of what's happening right now, I just think a win would kind of boost your spirits a little bit. That even if they get annihilated, that maybe, because again, you never know. You never know. They get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden it's like go time. Some teams just turn it on, and they're just like, all right, we're here. This is where our journey is, and bang, we're back in this thing. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying they have too much talent on this team that they can go up and down the field with anybody. They did go up and down the field in this game. They got out to a lead, and their problem has been they had not been able to finish. But again, the Giants are a worse team than the Cardinals, even though they have similar records. Their offensive line is about to be even in more shambles, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say what's up to my homie Dion in the chat too, man. Thanks for stopping in, bro. And Big Simple, man. Shout out to Big Simple, representing Washington Commanders, man. Hope, bro. Good to see you here, man. And
Hope you keep it competitive.
yeah, Eagles. What's up, Ghost Blue, man? Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate you stopping in, bro. But yeah, I just don't know. I just know this Eagles team has been they've been one of the bigger mysteries all season long, man. Like I said, their record says they're 11 and whatever, but I don't know. They're not. They don't look like that kind of a team. I
They're
mean,
not going to be a Super Bowl
people
team.
have compared them. People have compared them to the Minnesota Vikings from a year ago, and I mean they do seem to have some similar traits, watching how they're playing down the stretch here, man. Like sometimes the record don't tell the whole story, and like you said about Nick Sirianni, I can't imagine this guy actually getting fired. By no means, but at the end of the day, I've been hearing some things about losing the locker rooms, getting a little out of control, and things of that sort. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. We'll have to keep an eye on that going forward. But I mean, I can't imagine Nick Sirianni actually getting fired, based off of just what he did just last year, taking the team to the Super Bowl and still having what is technically a successful season, even though it's looking a little rough. What's going on, Buko, man? Happy New Year to you, bro. Thanks for stopping in, man. Really appreciate it.
Well, they're not also running the football. That's also what's biting them in the ass. If they were to just run the football a lot more in these games, they would be winning these games in a different manner. They in the Giant game, there was a couple of instances where they passed and went 3 and out, and the Giants crept back in the game. If they had run the football and considered their lead, they would have probably won some of these games. So their strategy's got to change up. It's when you have the lead, run the football. Just keep running it. And that's what I would do. If I was up 20-0 on the Giants, who I know can't score, I'm fucking running the ball down their throat. Oh, A.J. Brown's definitely going to be gone next year.
Ghost Dog says the Eagles is frauds, been too reliant on talent. That's why it's biting them in the ass now. I tend to agree with that. That could be like a situation where they just think they can show up with all their cool, shiny toys, and think that's it. And then guys are going out there and punching them back, man. So, well, like I said, the Eagles are going to be an interesting story heading into the postseason, man. We'll see. But I just don't see a long playoff run.
But they hate us. I don't think this game is going to be easy.
If it's a one and done. Oh no, but I don't think it's easy against the Eagles because the Giants clearly struggle against the Eagles regardless. So no matter what the Eagles are going through, the Giants are kind of more like they're get right regardless. It's just whatever it is, the Giants it's kryptonite for the Giants is the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, it's never a good look no matter what the circumstances are, let alone when they're literally an obviously better football team than us. So so we'll see how it plays out on Sunday. I think the Giants do got a puncher's chance based off of what you saw a couple weeks ago. But at the end of the day,
not what I saw last week.
About this damn team something about this damn team that just drives me crazy, man. And the Eagles just always find a way against the Giants usually. So we'll see how that is on Sunday. But the Eagles do not control their own destiny here. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are in the driver's seat for the division. So the Eagles definitely screwed themselves over with that Cardinals loss. Definitely was a big L for him, and it definitely impacted how things can play out for him
But just
because
win.
now it looks like they will be headed on the
Let,
road in the wild card round.
you never know. Play to win.
But
And if at the end of the day, you happen to be the 5th seed. Well, you played and you gave it a chance because again, I can't go to there even if there's a 1% chance that the Washington Commanders win. That 1% chance could cost you your job if you decide, yeah, I'm gonna. If you already knew that you were the 5th seed and there was no possible outcome, like doesn't matter if the Cowboys win or lose. Okay, I understand it. But the fact that there's a shot that you could still get the 2nd seed, you have to play your starters at least a half.
I mean, absolutely. Like I said, and that's why the NFL handled this brilliantly by scheduling these two football games in the exact same time slot, not giving either team that a choice to make a
On 2
decision
different
like that. You
networks.
know what I mean? Just play them both. Yeah, one's Giants and Eagles are on CBS actually, and the Cowboys and Commanders are on Fox. So the NFL knew what they were doing, man. They absolutely knew what they were doing, and I appreciate that. Let's keep it out there because I don't really want to watch the game. It's the last time I get to see my Giants until August again, so I don't want to see them going against a bunch of backups. I'd rather see them go against the Eagles, and if they get a win, a meaningless win it would be, but I'm sorry. I know the win don't mean nothing, but I hate the Eagles that bad that it's always personal, and I want to beat the Eagles every time we play them, no matter what. So I know the win don't mean nothing. It'll hurt the draft positioning a little bit, but I can't stand losing to the Eagles, and I always want to beat the Eagles. So we'll see what happens. But speaking of the Giants, let's move it along real quick. Let's move over to Sunday afternoon. New York Giants hosting the Los Angeles Rams at MetLife Stadium. And this game definitely was a little more interesting than I probably anticipated. I didn't think the Giants had enough offense to keep up with the Rams. But once again, the defense creating the turnovers, keeping this football team in the football game and giving them a chance. And that was what happened here. The New York Giants almost pulled off the upset. Nearly did. I mean, it comes down to a last minute Hail Mary not Hail Mary, field goal attempt. And unfortunately, the winds of MetLife Stadium sealed the New York Giants' fate. But at the end of the day,
I would say a
good,
shot kicking.
competitive, hard-fought game by the New York Giants. Well, yeah, that too. But a hard-fought New York Giants game, and New York Giants team, like I say, the team that even though the success hasn't shown, obviously, I mean, still haven't really been turning these into a lot of victories. This team was the laughing stock of the league the first half of the year, the absolute laughing stock of the league, and I think they've at least recovered from that at the very least. I'm not gonna take anything away from this season. They have at least recovered from that distinction of being the absolute laughing stock of the league. So I will say that's the only thing I really can say positive. This and it will come to an end for the New York Giants this Sunday when they face the Philadelphia Eagles. But what you think about this game here against the Rams, Adam?
Bad teams find ways to lose games, and that's what the Giants are. They're a bad team. They're a bad football team. Don't let the scores fool you. Don't let anything fool you. The game wasn't. I mean, Tyrod threw for 300 yards. That was kind of expected if you listen to what the Rams did. But the Rams shot themselves in the foot. First drive, they go for it on 4th and 1, and they don't get it. They don't get any points. They don't do anything. They get stopped. They go back down their second drive. Nothing even happened. Giants went 3 down. They go back down their second drive, score a touchdown. Right? They get the ball again. They go down. They're moving the football again. Then there's a sack or a punt or something that happens. It's a lot of self-inflicted wounds by the Rams that allowed this Giant team to stick around. Because if you think about it, the Giants were down. The Rams are up 20-3 at halftime, and there's no way you thought this is it. That's the game's over, right? Or 20-10. Excuse me. 20-10. Then the Giants go down. They score that big touchdown by Slayton. The game kind of flips. The momentum kind of flips. And then, the Rams go back and forth. They're moving the ball. They miss the field goal. Then they kick the ball off. The Giants don't really do much with it. And then the punt comes in the fourth quarter late in the game. And this is a chance for the Rams, who had good field position at that time, went 3 and out because they decided to run the football, and the Giants obviously stopped the run. Then it was a 3rd and 9, and they didn't convert, so then they punted. And here's where we're like, here we go. The game's probably over now. And nope, the Rams go down. They do what they did against the Baltimore Ravens. They give up a punt return. The Giants are now
in the driver's seat with about a minute to go. And what do? They run a play where, you're looking at it, and my heart stopped for a minute because I'm like, well, there goes our quarterback position. But I've come to the realization that you got to get a quarterback no matter what, wherever you are in this draft, you got to get one. There's no excuses. There's too many guys coming out, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then Tyrod Taylor throws the ball, and then Saquon Barkley, and then the ball goes nowhere and floats meaninglessly to the turf, and somehow the damn Rams win. Oh, then at that point, the game wasn't even over. The game wasn't over. The Rams get the ball back again. Don't do anything with it. Kick the ball back off to you. You give them the ball with like a minute to go in the game. You get into field goal range. And then Brian Dable, I don't know if it was him who called the play or if it was Tyrod Taylor who called the play. We called the running play in the middle of the clock being run down, which worked in the favor of the Rams, if you think about it. But then the clock is stopped. You do a pass to the outside, and you don't get any yardage, and you're outside of the field goal range of this guy anyways. Then you tried out this kicker who already missed the field goal for the Giants earlier, and he kicked the ball and didn't even look like he got air, and I just laughed. I laughed because I'm like, the Giants would find a way to lose this game. Basically, a team hands them the win, and they find a way to get defeated. And this is why I believe the Giants are going to still have trouble with the Eagles, even though they come out spirited and play a game in front of their home fans. I still think that they find ways to lose games. And this is what they do. And they're just a bad football team. And they've been a bad football team, and they haven't won many games against many good football teams, sans the Packer game. But again, that game they could have lost in the last minute. Tommy DeVito had a crazy drive, and the Packers were kind of laid back. It weren't aggressive. And here we are, and the Giants are on a 3-game losing streak right now. Saints, Eagles, Rams, basically eliminated them from the playoffs or any hope of anything. And to me, the thing that gets me about this game coming up, right? Giants lose the game. They're going into the Eagle game, and Brian Dable's like, oh, yeah, we want to play all our stars. We want to win the game. And I'm looking at this guy like, why do you care so much about winning the game? Why not try some of your young guys out? And if you win the game, great. If you don't, I get to look at my players, because at the end of the day, you've won 5 or 6, because you won 5 or 6 games. It's not going to change the fact that you're a horrible football team, and that it, to me, will be beneficial for him to get a look at guys further, like Eric Gray, getting a couple more carries, seeing what he can do. I don't care if I ever see Matt Breida again. Bye. Adoree Jackson, you should be a healthy scratch. With the business decisions you made on Sunday, I would not be playing your ass this Sunday. I would not. I'm sorry. With his putrid effort on that tackle by Puka Nacua, like, are you kidding me? Like, it would have been a first down anyway. It's fine. I would have settled with it. But then you let the guy scamper up the sideline for another 60 yards. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, guys like that, you need to send a message to me, like, that will not be acceptable play. Because guess what? He's not going to get better tackling. And if A.J. Brown gets his head out of his ass and decides to play, and the Eagles decide they want to show up in this game, and you give that tackling performance, you're going to lose the football game. There are some bright spots defensively. There were some times where they got there, but man, the Rams were picking up all their blitzes. No matter what they did, it seemed like they couldn't get. They were hitting Matthew Stafford, but they were being picked up. Isaiah Simmons, decent game. Again, I'm not worried. I don't care. I'm not going to lose sleep if he goes. And then Tyrod Taylor. While I like Tyrod Taylor, you clearly see that he's the best quarterback on the roster. Period. No one can tell me otherwise. He's the best quarterback on the roster, and that's saying a lot. Okay, the Giants have an issue. They have a big issue. And I know people want to win games for pride. I don't care. No, I'll tell you, let me put it to you this way. No one's going to give a flying fuck that we beat the Eagles in January 7th, 2024, if, years from now. They're not going to care about that. But if we happen to get our franchise guy and we win Super Bowls and have meaningful wins, why do you remember? Somebody brought it up in a space I was in. They said, who do you remember more, Victor Cruz or some Joe Schmo? You remember Victor Cruz. Why? Because he won championships. Eli Manning, Strahan. You're not really remembering, certain guys like Jesse Armstead, but that's because you're a Giant fan. But you won't remember like Chase Blackburn could have been an afterthought. But we know Chase Blackburn because he won a championship. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I'm saying. No one's going to give a shit that we beat the Eagles. I don't give a crap if they beat us and we win. What does that do? If they play their starters or what does that tell you? Like, exactly. No Mets put it up. Where's Trey Hawkins? This guy needs burn. you're benching him now. Like this is why I don't like about Brian Dable right now. You're trying to tell me that you're not winning games by putting in Tommy DeVito, and then you get upset by the fact that Tommy DeVito is like winning. He has a couple bad games for you, and you put in Tyrod Taylor when the season is over. The season you lost in New Orleans, and they said you were eliminated from the playoffs. If you wanted me to believe that you want to be in the playoffs, you should have started Tyrod Taylor earlier and gave yourself a chance and said, "Hey, you know what? He's going to give us the best chance to win.
Well,
We're going to try to make a run at this thing."
Tommy DeVito won 3 games in a row. I mean, he won 3 games in a row.
Yes, but
I mean, at the end of the day, he did. I mean,
right. I get what you're saying, but to me, why put him back in? Why are you putting Tyrod Taylor back in the game? What does that?
No, I get that. I get that. Understand that too. I understand that part now too. But I'm just saying, when you were like, if you wanted to serious about making the playoffs, you should have put Tyrod in there. But I mean,
that's what I'm saying. It's like
games and then.
Well, they still could have probably won those 3 straight games with Tyrod Taylor in the game. My point is now I guess I should
assume so. Yeah.
I guess I should rephrase it. If I cared about winning games, I would have put Tyrod Taylor in when he was healthy and just yanked the kid and say, you don't lose your job due to injury, kid, and just did it that way. What you ended up doing was getting a hot streak. The kid failed 2 games against New Orleans and then a half against the fucking Eagles. And then you're like, oh, we're putting in Tyrod Taylor now. And Tyrod Taylor gives us the best shot of winning. Well, you told me that about Tommy DeVito 2 weeks ago. You said, oh, he gives us the best shot of winning. Clearly, he doesn't. Clearly, you wanted to evaluate the kid. Now the games are meaningless. This is the time you want to evaluate him. I want to see him against the Eagles defense. I want to see him have adversity and come back and try. Because guess what? I don't want to see him in the preseason. That's not a meaningful game. There's not going to be starting caliber players in that game if I see him next preseason. I need to know if he's going to be here next year, just like Trey Hawkins. I need to know if he's going to be here next year. I need to see these guys. The fact that he came out and said, I want to win the game, that means nothing to me. You go out and you win this game, you lose your draft position, let's say, and you miss out on the quarterback, and you dare get, this is what I don't want to happen. Don't you give me that damn excuse. We weren't close enough to get a quarterback. You get your fucking guy. You know why? Because Tyrod Taylor stinks, Tommy DeVito stinks, and Daniel Jones is the albatross, and he also stinks. So go get a guy. Because I'll guarantee you this. If you roll it back with Tommy DeVito, Daniel Jones, and possibly Tyrod Taylor, I expect nothing less than the NFC Championship game. If you don't get there, you're all being fired. That's the bar I'm setting at. It's basically Super Bowl or bust at that point because that's what you're telling me. That's how good you are. And so at that point, you're getting fired, which means you can't get to the wild card game. Nope, you're getting fired. Take your quarterback now. There's a ton of them in this draft, a ton of good ones in this draft, and there's no excuse not to come away with one. Period. I don't care if you win this game or lose this game because at the end of the day, you're going to be in the top 10. You pick a damn quarterback.
I mean, even if they win this football game, they'll still probably slip down no further than like 7, maybe at the worst in the draft. Even if they were to win this football game, that'd probably be about as far as they would slip down. But that's neither here nor there. Trey Hawkins, New York Giants. Honestly, here's my opinion. They kind of screwed up with Trey Hawkins from the beginning, immediately the beginning of this season. The kid did have a really good training camp, looked good, but that is practice. I think the Giants put a little too much stock into that, put this kid out there, threw him into the fire early in the season. I think they got this kid's confidence a little bit shot. It's been pretty much mistake after mistake when he's on the field. Yeah, maybe this will be a good game to go out there and let him, try to get some confidence back, try to see where he's really at, evaluate him. I understand all of that, but I think the Giants kind of screwed up with Trey Hawkins from the beginning of this season, man. And I think they really probably shot this kid's confidence a little bit, but we'll see how that happens.
Well,
as
it can't be worse than Norton Jackson.
Look, I'm not
Nick McLeod. Put Nick McLeod out there.
Look, as far as like a Darius Slayton goes, look, I don't mind if Darius Slayton's a part of this football team again next year. I'm not prepared to make him a priority, though. Definitely not prepared to make him a priority. By no means. I mean, if he's here, he's here. If he's not, he's not. Like Adam said earlier about whoever else he was talking about, I'm not losing sleep over Darius Slayton, if he's here or not. I mean, he's made a couple big touchdown catches the last couple of weeks. And maybe if you're playing him in his proper role, he do give you a little bit of value. But at the end of the day, we know what Darius Slayton is, and he's not the kind of guy I'm going to lose sleep over. Whether
are you saying that that Tyrod Taylor missed that on purpose to Saquon Barkley?
Wow. Well, I don't think so, because at that point in the game, there's still a little bit of time left in the game. If anything, Mason Crosby got the orders to miss the field goal kicker. But at the end of the day, I just think this team is bad, and that's what we're going to find. The Giants are about to start another offensive lineman. Okay, they don't even know if their center's healthy. The center couldn't even do a walkthrough today. He couldn't even go through a walkthrough practice. Okay, a walkthrough. He wasn't limited. If he's out tomorrow, there's a good chance he's not going to play. And that means Matt Peart's going to be at your right tackle, Bredesen at your center, and then you have Glowinski at your guard, which could end up being good. I don't know, but could also end up being bad as well. This is what I'm talking about. This team is bad.
Look, the team is bad, but at the same time, I think just what you've seen over the course of this couple of weeks, they're bad, but you get, like I said, you get a competent quarterback in here, a few other pieces, and this team can definitely compete with just about anybody, man. And there's no doubt in my mind, as long as
Well,
they come out swinging the way they have been the last couple these last few weeks, I think they can definitely compete with anybody, but they definitely got to make that move. They got to get a quarterback that can come in and have some stability, some confidence, and just be consistent, man. Like I
well,
said, I mean, just when you, like I said, it's good. Is Tyrod didn't necessarily play. He didn't play terrible, like I said on Sunday. But then some of the plays, some of the passes he missed, it just those were things that could have changed the game, man.
he's going to miss
And
those
it's those
passes.
little things, man.
That's 2 weeks in a row.
It's
He's going to
those
miss those
little
passes.
things, man. That yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. That's 2 weeks in a row. And it's
So
just
that's a
those couple of
trend,
little
man.
things that are the difference in football games, man.
Well, listen, this is not anything new for Tyrod. He missed Darren Law in the back of the end zone. Okay, against Buffalo, he had a couple overthrows in other games. In the Eagle game, there was a game where Waller again was wide open, so was Barkley, and he dirted both those passes. So it's not like we're dealing with the greatest quarterback in the world here. He's 35 years old and is clearly on the decline. But all I'm saying to me is that like you said, get somebody in here. I don't want to hear about some jackwagon you're bringing in, some free agent. No, go in there, and because the thing is this: if you have a quarterback on this roster that's at least a second round picking up, you're going to be able to play him at some point and save your job. If you have nobody and you try to rely on like a fucking Sam Howell, you're going to be fired with the rest of them. I don't care. And guess who's going to survive it? Joe Shane is going to survive it. And then he's going to beg and plead and get his quarterback, but he's not going to get the right coach to develop him. And if they don't pick quarterback, to me this year, I'm firing Joe Shane at the end of the year if we don't have a good season. I'm firing both of them. Get a new GM and coach in here, because both you idiots wanted to rely on Daniel Jones' dumbass, and so you both should go out with that guy as well, because he's not been good. The evaluations has not been good. Get a guy in here for competition at the very least. I don't care what anybody says. The Giants could do two things. They could not play him and don't have to pay him that injury clause or whatever the case may be, or you play him, and odds are there's probably an 80% chance he's probably going to get injured, because that's the probability right now. He's played 5 seasons. 1 out of those 5 seasons, he's played fully healthy. And even in that season, he was injured at some point. He was banged up with an ankle injury. So he is going to be injured. And with a second knee, a neck injury, that's more debilitating than the knee. You better have somebody in here, because God forbid that guy comes against the Ravens and Patrick Roquan Smith comes down the middle, downhill with a full head of steam and hits that guy, and he is knocked out with a concussion or has some back injury, and you have nobody on the damn team except Tommy Coldcuts on the roster. You're going to be fired. You're going to be out of here. You're going to have your job. It's time to rip the Band-Aid off. I'm tired of it.
All right, Wells, man. Look, I'm all right with Kafka, man. Look, I'm not totally against. I mean,
Not the O-line
look.
coach.
I just think we get a competent back in there. I think that you can maybe see a difference with him as a play caller. But
True.
O line coach OG Bobby Johnson, man. OG Bobby
Bye-bye.
Johnson, brother.
Bye-bye.
It, he's got to go. He's
Bye.
got to go. You cannot convince me that all these New York Giants offensive linemen that they've been drafting
Listen,
over the course of these years with high draft picks, you can't convince me that they're all busts. You can't convince me that these guys are all just complete and utter scrubs. There's got to be something going on with the coaching situation there, man. You got to demonstrate an ability to coach these guys up. People keep saying, "Oh, we got to keep building the O-line." You cannot just keep investing first round draft picks on
It's not
offensive
going to do anything
linemen
if the coach sucks.
every single year. If the coach stinks, it's not going. You're going to get the same exact results. This goes right hand in hand with the other comment down here, man. We're watching offensive linemen from the Giants go other places and look competent. Look at the season Feliciano had this year out in San Fran. John Feliciano had a great year out in San Fran this season. The dude on Baltimore now, Kevin Zeitler. Great season. Competent offensive guard over there. He looked like absolute garbage while he was here in New York. Feliciano, we know how he looked last year on this same roster. It's something not right. And yeah, JMS is showing signs of regressing a little bit too. As it could be nagging injuries. I don't know with him, but something's not right with that kid either. As the season's going on, we haven't seen the progress that we like to see. Now, Evan Neal, I've spoken strong words on Evan Neal. I still believe he'll be a better guard than tackle. I just think the footwork is just really, really bad, and I'm not sure if that's necessarily the coaching or if that is just him as a guy. But maybe he ain't really as bad as we all think, and maybe it's really just the coaching. I mean, Matt Pert was a third-round draft pick as well. I mean, that's still also a pretty high draft pick. I'm not willing to believe that all of these guys over the last few years are just complete busts, and the New York Giants has continuously picked the wrong guys. Something's got to be up with the coaching there, man. It's just something not right, man. And Bobby Johnson, he's going to have to go. I don't really like to necessarily call for guys' jobs, but at the end of the day, he's got to go, man. It's got to be definitely's got to be a change there, man. Because whatever he's preaching, it is not working, and it's just bad. How can you not coach these guys up to pick up a stunt? Basic stunts, not even necessarily exotic ones. Basic stunts. This offensive line cannot pick up, cannot recognize, cannot handle. It's too much. It's just ridiculous when I watch this, man. When I watch this offensive line play on this football team.
Because Andrew Thomas had a great block for Wan'Dale Robinson's touchdown. And we're so thankful to have that guy. But I think you're going to see a lot of our rookie guards. That's three of our young offensive linemen probably ending up in IR, right? Or ending up on the injury list. JMS already has injuries, right? I wouldn't be surprised they hide him because of what's going on right now. Because if he does start and he's got a bad ankle, that could be bad news bears for us. Evan Neal's going to IR. You have McKeithen on IR. You have Josh Azudu on IR. I mean, this is just bad. And you're right to a certain extent. They can't all be bad. Like Andrew Thomas is not affected by the coaching staff, but the other guys are. So I don't know what's going on. You watch Hard Knocks and you see everybody go into the room and they have these little things. What is being talked about? I would love to see be a fly on the wall on what's being coached, because something is a disconnect. Something is a disconnect. And Pugh. I don't understand how Pugh regressed. Something must be happening in the room. Either it's because Pugh came on here in the first few weeks. He had like one pressure, and now he can't. The guy's a turnstile. Now I still think he stinks. I don't think he's football shape. I really think he should retire. But everybody stinks. Lewinsky's in and out of the lineup. I mean, this is what I mean by this team is so frustrating, because we have this new coach and he's doing dumb shit and he's bringing in dumb coaches. The only coach on our team that I trust to develop anybody right now, besides Daymall and developing quarterbacks, as you've seen the progression there, is the fucking Jerome Henderson. Because those DBs, they're DBs in and out of the lineup, and they're still raising the level of play. We may not have Deontay Banks for this game. Like, there's a lot going on here for this team.
Might not have Pinnock for this game. He still hasn't practiced this week either.
So, I mean, it's
Jason Pinnock has not practiced this week either.
And we have JMS who didn't practice as well. So there's a lot going on. The offensive line is a shit show. But I can't just – we're about to give up the most sacks in NFL history, right? And you got to ask yourself, if this guy has a job come Tuesday or Monday morning, then I'm going to fire. I'm firing Dable on the spot, because that means he's too
soft to fire his friend. He hired Bobby Johnson from Buffalo because that's the only coach he knows, right? So now you need to go out and get some guys. There's Mike Munchak out there. There's a lot of other coaches you can get out there to come in here and help this line. It doesn't have to do a lot. Imagine if this line, you get a new quarterback and a competent coach, and some of these guys pan out, and you get, let's say, a Penix Jr., right? He comes in here and boom, all of a sudden the ball's being zipped out, and we're looking like a competent football team, and we actually have a fucking offense that you can get behind. Right? As opposed to now where we're hoping that a 35-year-old guy can drop back and throw it 80 yards downfield because we have a speedster running down the field. I mean, that's basically the Giants offense. It's boom or bust. Even with that 94-yard kickoff return, they would have been down. They would have been down, at least 10 points, 9 points at that point if they don't get that kickoff return. Right? They got the kickoff return. They put the game within a score. And they flub it up, right? They flub it up. See, that's another thing. What if they didn't kick the field goal for a reason because they wanted to win the game, but they had field goal kicking troubles. So now you're going to do that at the end of the game. There's just so much stuff doesn't make sense. And if Wink Martindale, I'll tell you this: if Wink Martindale gets fired, this team is in trouble because you're going to bring in. You're seeing what's happening with the Eagles and the new defensive coordinator. What do you think is going to happen with the Giants? This is why I'm telling you the only saving grace for Brian Daboll right now is to beg Joe Shane to get him a quarterback. Otherwise, he will be fired with the rest of them on Black Monday come 2025.
Look, I think the quarterback situation is definitely it has to happen. Like I said, this week's game that was definitely what convinced me all the way. I was already convinced anyway, but it just completely, let me know that I'm definitely right. I feel right in this. They had to get a quarterback, and either in this draft or let me throw a hypothetical out there at you. Chicago Bears look like they'll be sitting with number 1 overall pick via Carolina. Justin Fields has had a pretty impressive month of December. If they still want to go the route of starting over with a new quarterback and they sitting in their number 1 spot and get the choice pick of the litter, would you see a scenario in which the Giants, instead of drafting one of the guys or maybe drafting a guy who may not even their guy may be gone by the time they get their pick, you see a scenario in which they maybe offer Chicago something for a Justin Fields type of guy? See a scenario like that?
Well, here's the thing. The thing is, if Justin Fields didn't come with the reputation that he's coming with, then I'd say fine. Because I understand what you're doing. You're basing it on the potential of what he has, and I get it. He's 24 years old, whatever. And I think Brian Daboll can mold him. But you got to commit to that guy because that's it. You're not bringing him in for a year to be like, let's do, half-ass. You're bringing him in because he's a veteran and you don't need to really restart. Now, if you think you can do that, then you bring him in immediately. And Daniel Jones can hit the bench because immensely Justin Fields makes our team better. And if Brian Daboll says, hey, I can make this guy the quarterback that he needs to be, he's not as broken as Daniel Jones, then yes, I'll do the move. I'm not opposed to the move if it's a guy like Justin Fields. It has to be a guy like Justin Fields. It can't be somebody else. It can't be like a Tyler Huntley or a Gardner Minshew or anything like that. If you're going to do it and do a big splash, I will gladly give you the Seattle second-round pick and maybe a third-round pick for Justin Fields, right? And say, hey, we can make that pick next year a conditional first-rounder if he blows the doors off of it, right? But I personally feel you'd want a guy from jump. Just get your guy. I don't think you should trade for that. But if you do, that's a guy that name is swirling. It would be intriguing to bring him in here. If he plays his last game, I don't know who he plays this week. I think they play the
Packers. They play the Packers. Yeah.
If he comes out and has another game, a solid game, you're going to have everyone's going to be on the phone, not just the Giants. And a lot of teams across the league are going to look at him. Like Atlanta, they may call and say, hey, listen, we'll give you our first and next year's first. So right now the Giants should be focused on trying to get a quarterback in the draft. If they can't get one, hey, you can make a trade for draft. You can always make a trade for that quarterback later, like a Justin Fields, if he hasn't been moved yet, right? You can even do it on draft night. If you're like, shit, we've gone through the whole draft. We haven't done anything. Fuck, we're running out of it. Here's a 4th round pick in 2020. Here's a 2nd round pick in 2025 and a 3rd round pick in 2025. That could be a conditional first or whatever you want to do, right? I don't think he's going to get the haul that Aaron Rodgers will get, but let's see what he says. I'm no expert here. I know a lot of you are high on Penix. I say all that. It seems like he gets a lot of help from his receivers. We don't have receivers that bail out QBs. I think you're looking at it in a vacuum. It's not his fault he has good receivers. He's got to put the ball on him, and that's what he's doing. He's balling out. He's throwing 400 yards a game against big-time competition. I mean, Mac Jones, his receivers helped him out too, and so did Jalen Hurts, but doesn't mean the guy can't play football. I really do think he can play, and I think he's a really solid prospect. And if he comes, he's a guy that if you don't get a Justin Fields, and if you want to go Michael Penix Jr., I'm having him challenge for Daniel Jones' spot right out the gate. And he's a leader of men. He's had 2 back-to-back seasons. He's thrown 4,600 yards, 35 touchdowns. I understand what you're saying about the weapons, but he's also making those guys better. Rome Odunze doesn't do what he does without Michael Penix Jr. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. You look at Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is a wasted talent in New York because of his quarterback play. So guys like Jalen Hyatt and Darius Slayton might actually get better with a guy like Michael Penix Jr., who's not afraid to throw the ball downfield. So just get a guy in here. Are you saying, Wales, that you don't want a QB, you just want a weapon? Or you say we need a weapon at wide receiver? I mean, hell, bring in DeAndre Hopkins for all I care. I mean, look at Darren Waller. Darren Waller got more burn this week with a quarterback that gets him the ball than Daniel Jones ever did. There's a reason why these guys are doing it.
Here's the thing with the Giants wide receiving core. It's hard to know how good they truly are because of the incompetence of the position. I think Wan'Dale Robinson also can be a downfield threat as well as do some of the things he does in the short game and in the intermediate game. But he also is another guy that people forget. He can be a downfield threat as well. He's a speedy guy. He's a former running back in his big early college years. So this he's another guy on the roster. Him, Jalen Hyatt, Darius Slayton, these guys definitely can beat you down the field and definitely can be all big play guys for the New York Football Giants. Now I know the names don't jump out the page and they don't sound as sexy as like Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out and a couple of other guys, some of the other receiver prospects, and then some of the other guys, other free agent type of guys you might be able to get in here. But I think part of it's hard to know how good the Giant receiving core is because there has been serious incompetence at the quarterback position. Serious incompetence that I can admit it took me far too long to recognize because I was too busy trying to blame everything else. But there has been some serious incompetence at that position, and I don't know because I don't think we got the best out of Jalen, the best that we could have got out of Jalen Hyatt by any means this season. I think that was it. He ended up being a wasted talent on this roster this year. I mean, so and it's unfortunate for that young man that rookie season had to come down to this, but I just think we haven't seen the best version of Jalen Hyatt that we can see, and I think a better quarterback will allow that to happen. I mean, Darren Waller, sure, he might not be a top 3 or 4 tight end anymore in the league like he once was when he was with the Raiders, but at the end of the day, come on, man. This dude, you can't tell me he's not better than what we saw from him this season. People were trying to compare the move to the Kenny Golladay signing. No fucking way.
Well,
no way.
Wales, we talked about the number one receiver. The number one option that they wanted to be was Darren Waller. So they wanted the weapons to play off of him. So technically, it's not that we don't have a number one quote-unquote receiver. We have a number one option. Our number one option hasn't been that great in terms of being Darren Waller. He hasn't, he's been in and out of the lineup and injured. And if he has a chronic hamstring injury, that's, kind of never going to leave him, then we might have to work on that. So I get what people are saying, and I think they're going to address it in the. There's a lot of football to go, right? I'm so glad, and we'll be so happy when the clock struck zero on the game, whatever the result is, and we head to the damn off season. The Giants have a chance to be in the fucking Senior Bowl and get a chance to look at all these fucking quarterbacks. Okay, like this is what we need. Half these teams are being firing their coaches. We're the only ones outside of maybe the Jets who are going to be there to get a glimpse of these teams. So, it doesn't benefit the Giants to really see anything. And to me, I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Dable's on the hot seat, and this is why he's playing quote unquote Tyrod Taylor, because it doesn't make sense. Some of the things he said in his press conference, where they ask him, "Are you going to get a chance to look at some young players?" He's like, "No, I'm trying to win the game." Like if you're a coach that's coming back next year unequivocally with no regard for your job, why are you worried about winning a game that means nothing for the future of this franchise? Because like I said, 5 wins doesn't do anything more than 6 wins. What does that do? I high five you. I get to walk around that we beat the Eagles. Who gives a shit? Like that doesn't do anything.
I kind of do. I just hate. I hate the Eagles. I hate the Eagles.
I mean, but to me, again, I don't. Again, it doesn't. I don't. I get it if we were a football team that was trying to up and come, right? But we were supposed to be good. Now we're losing. We have a chance to change our franchise in a great way. And we're going to sit here and try to win a game that means nothing in the overall standings outside of that. You want to make it look good. I don't want to do that anymore. Just go in there. I mean, it doesn't matter if they win the game. If they end up 7th, 6th, 7th, or 8th, just fucking get your quarterback.
It's not about making it look good. For me, it's just personal with the Eagles. For me, it's just personal. It is. I just.
Don't worry about it now. I'm telling you,
can't.
When you get your quarterback and this team is heading in the right direction, that's when you can sign up for this. Right now, don't worry about it. Because again, like I said to you, Mac, you're not going to care about a meaningless lost season of 2024 in 10 years when we're sitting here trying to figure out what we're doing if we don't have a quarterback, because you're not going to remember. If we have a guy in 10 years and he's brought us a Lombardi and a couple playoff wins, we're not going to say, hey, remember that game against the Eagles where Tyrod Taylor started in that lost season? No, you're not going to care. I barely even remember the game I went to with Evan Ingram.
I might. I hate the Eagles that bad. I might. Because speaking of the Eagles, I want to get to this point right here on the screen. No mess, no nest, no Jets said exactly. That's why I mentioned Slayton. Slayton's looked better under Eli and Tyrod with DJ. Actually, Slayton didn't have much experience playing with Eli, but I will tell you, one of his best career games was with Eli Manning at quarterback, playing against the Philadelphia Eagles on, I believe it was a Thursday night or a Monday night. It was a primetime game. Eli Manning just lightened up the first half of that football game, lighting the Eagles' defense up. Darius Slayton had 2 huge touchdown catches in the first half of that football game. And then, Shermer was the coach that year. Pat Shermer was the coach that year. In the second half of that game, he decided to do whatever and take the foot completely off the gas, and we let the Eagles off the hook that game. Game we should have easily had won. We were in cruise control going into the halftime of that game, and then I don't know, that just got off the rails in the second half, whatever. But that is a valid point. With more competent quarterback play, Slayton always seems to look better with more competent quarterbacks out there on the field. I mean, that's an absolute fact. So
this is the irony of that, and we'll get into the games again in a few minutes. But he has led the team with receiving yards, like 750 yards or whatever it is, almost 800 yards. He's always been there. That's who he's going to be. I don't think he really changes much with it. I think it just looks better because he's getting the shots that he needs downfield. Last year, he dropped some issues, and they tried to throw him the football. But when he's played with Tyrod Taylor, he's been utilized in what he was supposed to be here for, and that was a speedster down the sideline. So, Darius Slayton has played well. I mean, I would say his rookie year with Daniel Jones was a good year. With Daniel Jones because they threw the ball downfield. See, the thing is, what people don't realize with Pat Shermer is they threw their offense under him, and he had a good thing. Now, there's a nugget I heard. Now, I don't know how much this rumor is true, that I heard through the grapevine that Jason Garrett left the Giants. He got fired, but he also, I think it was something about the quarterback, and he didn't want to coach him anymore. And the only reason I know this is third party said that They knew somebody. I'm not going to blow it up their spot, but they knew somebody who was a relative of Garrett, and Jason Garrett kind of said that DJ was the issue and one of the issues, and that's why he kind of was like, "I'm not going to coach anymore. I'm going to do what I got to do," And we blamed the offense for Daniel Jones, and I looked at a lot of that offense that Jason Garrett ran. There was guys open. I used to tell people all the time, Kenny Galladay's open down the sidelines. Nobody doesn't want to get hit. People would tell me, oh, no, that's a decoy route. He's not really running a route. No, it turns out it probably was a right route, but our quarterback just didn't want to pull the trigger. So you're going to see a lot of this coming out. Once Daniel Jones hits the bricks, I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of it. But it starts now.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely. Real quick, I mean, we didn't.
Let me tell you this, Wales. If you don't sell your soul for this game and you win and you put yourself out of quarterback range, and the next year you come back and it's Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, and Daniel Jones, and we're still at the bottom of the cellar, not winning games and being mid-card, and we could easily have a CJ Stroud in here that changes the fortune of the franchise and changes how everybody feels. You'll feel differently. I'm telling you right now. I guarantee you right now, you're not going to worry about the Eagle game right now. If this positions them for the 4th pick in the draft, and you get a Drake May, you're not going to care about it. If Drake May is lighting up the Eagles every year and you're going toe to toe and fighting for the playoffs, you're not going to care. I guarantee it.
Well, we will see how things play out there. But since we were on there, might as well just real quick. We didn't really touch on it. Just how do you feel about how do we actually feel how this game's going to go down on Sunday with the
I really don't have a
against the
feeling.
Philadelphia Eagles?
I don't have a feeling because I think the Giants can win, but I feel like the Eagles are going to want to beat us up just because they're going to want to get right into the playoffs. I mean, the things that I'm hearing on the Philadelphia side, even though there's turmoil, is that they're trying to execute. So maybe they want to see if they get right. I have no idea. This is so weird. It's so wonky.
Well, I mean, as much as I always want to beat the
He's not
Eagles,
sorry.
as much
He's
as I
not.
always want to beat the Eagles,
You don't think
as
we're
far
beating
as
the Eagles?
as much as I always want to beat the Eagles, because like I said, I just really hate this team. I take it personal against the Eagles. I just feel like the history. I'm a believer in that, man. And this team, for some reason, one reason or another, the Eagles absolutely had a New York Giants number, man. It's hard for me to ever pick
It's true.
us against the Eagles, man, to win. It's just hard for me to ever do that. Just given the history, it's just an absolute fact. I've lived through it. I've witnessed it. I've seen it. It doesn't matter. The scenario could be the opposite, where the Giants are the clear-cut better football team, and the Eagles find a way to beat the Giants all the time. It's just crazy to me. I don't know what it is about this damn team, man, but
See,
it
this is
is
what I
what
mean by
I just it's hard for me.
like this is what I mean. You lose out on certain players that could go off and have it. And then you say, like, we sit here and talk about Micah Parsons all day, every day. And what could have been? We had a chance to get that guy, we still blew it. Right? So get your guy in here. Get a guy that changes it. I don't care about a rivalry, and all this. And then Wales, if you think Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback here next year, and you actually believe Joe Shane, then Joe Shane's already in trouble. Because how long am I waiting to put the kid in? As soon as Daniel Jones struggles, I'm putting the kid in. I mean, I don't even think he should be on the team personally. You draft your quarterback, away you go. Like, Daniel Jones is not good. He doesn't. You know who we're playing next year? We're playing the AFC North. The AFC North. There'll be some defenses out there, but I'm kind of with you, Mac. Like, part of me is like, yo, this Eagle team is going to beat us for some reason. Even though they suck right now, they're still going to beat us.
I mean, it's just the way. That's just something about the team. It's something about it. Buko says meaningless win less than losing, or greater than losing. I mean, or whatever. I
What's
don't know.
happening
I'm
right
not
now?
sure with the greater. I'm not good with the
Wales,
greater
Wales.
less
What
than sign.
are you
Hold
talking
on,
about?
hold on, real quick. Hold on, real quick. As a Jets fan, we lost out on Nick Bosa, Trevor Lawrence, and Chris Long. Ended up with Zach Wilson and Marcus Golston. When you put it like that, it does, make you think that winning a meaningless game is like, what's the point of it? But like I said, with this Eagles football team, man, I just something about this Eagle football team. I don't know. I don't really. It's hard for me to pick the Giants against them, but I always still want to beat them because
So
they're the
you,
Philadelphia
well,
Eagles. And as much as people hate the Dallas Cowboys, and as much as people hate, however they feel about the Cowboys, no, the Eagles are my most hated team in the league. Period. Because they have tormented me my entire life as a New York Giants fan. And let me get to one more thing right quick on here. My man D Daddy says, Mac the Giants fan. My man, I love the channel. Appreciate that, by the way. Today is my wife and her boyfriend's anniversary. Can I get a. Today is my wife and her boyfriend's anniversary. Can I get a shout out? Okay, I don't know if I read that right, but definitely get a shout out. Happy anniversary and best wishes in 2024.
Okay, well,
No doubt indeed. Man.
anywho,
Go ahead, Adam.
so
Do what you was gonna
apparently
do. That threw me
I'm
off a
about to
little
cook.
bit.
I'm about to cook somebody right now. So we can't draft a quarterback because he's going to get killed behind what, the offensive line. I mean, come on, man. What are we doing? Tyrod Taylor's already proven to you that he can play behind the line. Like, give me a
Tommy
break.
DeVito did.
I mean,
Tommy
exactly. What are
DeVito
we
played
talking
behind this
about
whole
here?
line.
Come on, guys are going to get sacked. Players are going to get sacked. Get
Same.
off this shit, man. Get off this shit. Get off this shit. Okay? I just don't understand it. I don't get the fucking shit that people are saying. Oh, let's not take a quarterback because we don't have an offensive line and blah blah blah. Get out of here. Okay? But what are you gonna do? When are we gonna take a quarterback? When the situation is perfect? Oh, let me guess. Evan Neal just blew out his knee. We have to get when is it gonna be perfect? It's never gonna be perfect. That's you're down here for a reason. You're trying not to be down here. You want to know why? Let's see. The Buffalo Bills, they're in the playoffs fighting for their division. You know who they have at quarterback? Josh Allen. The Miami Dolphins have Tua Tagovailoa. The Kansas City Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. The Bengals have Joe Burrow. You know what those teams do every year? They fight for the playoffs and Super Bowls. You know what we do every year? We high five that we can flirt with a playoff victory. Flirt. We're not even close to winning a division. Come on. It doesn't matter. This is what you do. Daniel Jones will be here until we're mathematically eliminated. I don't care. Who cares about that guy? You shouldn't worry about Daniel Jones. He stinks. If you draft your guy, it's about the future. It's not about next year. It's about the effing future. Daniel Jones is not the future of this team. A new quarterback is. You people are so freaking worried about – so freaking – what am I doing? So fucking worried about next year that you need to worry about 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, when this team is going to actually be good. They're not going to be good next year. And that's a fact. I'm telling you that right now. They're not winning more than 7 games next year.
You never know. Because like you say, look at the Houston Texans and you look at C.J. Stroud did for that organization and what he did for that football team. So I wouldn't just completely – take away the idea that this team can't be a very competitive football team.
You be drinking that. You be drinking that Kool-Aid over there. You be drinking that Kool-Aid over there, and then that different section over there. I mean, my God, what we can't. Oh my God, we're gonna get the kid killed. We look what Brian Daboll did with Tommy DeVito. Max just said it. Look what Brian Daboll's done with Tommy DeVito in those games. Come on. You don't think you can get a guy with better talent in here? You guys are mind-boggling to me. Let's build a team. And wait for it to be perfect and hope that we get the right quarterback. But if we don't swing on a quarterback, how are we ever going to know if the guy's the right quarterback? You know what I mean? And if you're winning games, you're never going to get there. You're basically saying, why don't you do what the Rams do? I'm tired of this, man. It's over. It's over for you. It's over for you. Anybody
let's talk about this game here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this game here. Dallas and Washington, man. How do you see this one? How do you see this? You think Washington has any chance of not ruining the Cowboys season, but ruining them a chance to get to win the NFC East championship this season?
I don't think there's really
any
chance. But I do feel like the Commanders. Sometimes things are wonky. I don't think they're going to lose this game to the Cowboys, but I also can't go in there saying, like Max said, for some reason, I could see the officials screwing the Cowboys in some way, and some weird thing happened, and the kicker for the Commanders puts one through at the buzzer, or some shit like that, because of the controversy that's going on now, right? And so
That's the thing about this game is I'm not trying to say that they're not going to win the NFC East because it's in their hands. They win the game, it's in their hands. But this is the Cowboys we're talking about. They're a Jekyll and Hyde team. They have been, and they have had some letdowns in the season as well, and have had kept. I think the game will be close for about a half, and then after the half comes out, that's when the doors get blown off. If this Commander team is still in it in the fourth quarter, I would be concerned if I was a Cowboy fan. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But listen, I'm done. I don't have much more about that game because
just see Sam Howell. I can see Sam Howell coming out with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Maybe. I mean, he made his debut against the Cowboys last season in the season finale, and he performed pretty well against the Cowboys in that game, which pretty much got him the starting role this year for the Washington Commanders. So you never know how this game like this get tricky, man. It's a division game. One team is horrible. The other team is on their way into the postseason. Maybe Washington can just generate some motivation and just say, "Look, I want to make this tough for you." But I don't really see it. Washington has been, sorry, Big Simple, they've been quite terrible the past month of the season, man. They've been quite terrible, and I think you know that. And like you said, you don't need to win, and looks like they're not interested in winning based off of what they did a week ago. Looks like they have no interest in winning anyway. So I think I'm with everybody in the chat right now. Buko, I think Brissett would have gave them a legitimate chance to win this football game, and they're clearly not going with him. So I think Dallas does take this football game. But
and then we'll be saying,
before we get ready to get up out of here,
at the end of next week, we'll be saying this exact words when we come back on the show next year. All right, we will be saying, and your new NFC East champions, the Dallas Cowboys. That's what we will be saying next week.
All right, this is not NFL related at all, real quick, but since we were talking about the young man earlier, one Michael Penix Jr., man, he is playing a very important game Monday night, man. Who you got, Adam, man? Who you got in this one?
I like them both. I think Michigan's going to win just because defensively they got a great defense, but I'm looking for Michael Penix Jr. and J.J. McCarthy to show you on the national stage why they should be drafted. I'm not telling you, Wales, who I want because it doesn't matter to you anyway. So you can wait for that answer down the road. I want anybody but Daniel Jones. How about that? But anyways, I want to see Michael Penix Jr. win, but I just think Michigan's defense is too good.
I'm with you there, man. I just think this is finally the year Michigan kicks that door in as well, unfortunately. And I think Michael Penix will go out there and probably ball out, have a great game, but I think it just won't be quite enough. And I think Michigan does get this, man. So any final thoughts before we wrap this up, Adam?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fantastic year for you, for us here at the Real Deal NFC East Round-Up. 17 weeks you were riding with us. 17 weeks you've been with us. We have one more to go. We're going to give it to you next week. We're going to set you up with the playoffs. We're going to be with you as long as the NFC East teams are in the playoffs, for as long as they're in the playoffs. So there will be shows coming at you. And I want to say thank you guys so much for sticking with us. And hopefully we brought you some good entertainment for an hour and a half. And we'll see you. We'll see when we see you. And cherish these next couple weeks, because in a few weeks, guys like me and Chris Bucco, we love this time of year. We love dissecting the draft picks and the quarterbacks and the offseason, more so than the games, really. The games kind of stress us out. But this part we love. So I will be embracing the offseason. But the Giants season, another one in the books, another NFC season in the books. And I just want to say thanks. Thanks again.
Everybody, I want to say thank you, everybody in the chat, man. It's been a great show. It's been a great season. Me and Adam gonna still keep coming to y'all, man. As long as the NFC East teams in here, which we got two in the postseason, we'll still be coming with y'all every Wednesday, at least until there's no one else standing, man, from this division, man. Appreciate y'all in the chat. Hope everybody had a very happy and safe holiday season, man. Hope everybody has a blessed 2024, man. And keep riding out with myself and Adam Costas, my super dope co-host, man. We're going to keep bringing this NFC East Real Deal NFC East Round-Up to y'all, man. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the appreciation, man. And thanks for spending a little bit of your evening with us on this Wednesday. And just want to say, man, God bless all of y'all, man. And I really appreciate it. Subscribe, please. Subscribe to myself, subscribe to Adam, subscribe to the Hardcore Sports Network, man. We're going to keep grinding for y'all, man. Promise y'all that, man. Promise y'all. And, until next, we'll see y'all again next Wednesday, man, on another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Round-Up, where we'll be getting y'all ready for the wild card round. We'll see who the Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys will be matched up against, and we'll be talking about it, dissecting those matchups, breaking it all the way down. Till next Wednesday, it's your boy Mac the Giants fan and my boy super dope co-host Adam Costas. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants fan. That's MacDa Giants fan.